Hey everyone, it's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy the show. Please give it a like and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, wherever you can find it. It's out there in a lot of spots right now so that you can get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to the Travel Bugs for the music and our patrons, Doug Jones, Joshua and Caleb Slinkard, Tom Brotherman, Joshua, the geocaching vlogger, Nick Hubbard, Andrew Tiepkin, Cecilia Perez, Sydney Sawyer, Valena Mahar, Jane Jewell, Memphis Mafia, Craig Michelle, the Geo Gearheads, Zach Fick, the Deadliest Cachers, Tim Terrell, Neil Moore, Molly the Geocaching Dog, Dee and David Vickery, Geocaching Adam, Lori Post, Peter Stepanek, the No Code Geocachers, Paula Hughes, Ed Shaper, John Langston, and our new patron from Australia, our other Aussie, Scott Thompson. If you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/geocachetalk for more details. Patrons get path tags, coins, and other geocaching swag during the year, as well as invites to special events only for patrons. Support levels start at as little as $3 a month. Well, let me start by welcoming my co-host tonight, Sydney.
Hi, everybody.
And that's it. Just Sydney and I tonight. Jesse is in Vegas, and I guess whatever happens in Vegas is going to stay there. Because although he did post, we did see. Did you see the one post he put out there on Facebook?
I saw that he was at the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, which is in a book that I read recently.
It is the soon to be New York Times. Well, maybe not, but Geocache, 201 Geocache. Yes, he was there, and he also went to the wedding chapel, which is sounds crazy, but oh well, it's good stuff. So we're missing Jesse tonight, and we're missing Zach. We had Zach planned tonight. He might be in the chat room, but Zach's weather and our weather at least down in Texas, we're get a lot of storms. And so Zach was sort of rained out tonight. We'll have him on again soon. We try to have Zach on kind of as often as we really can. Sometimes the show doesn't really, the theme doesn't really work for Zach, but whenever we can, we try to have Zach on. So fear not, Zach will return soon. Well, anyway, let's jump right into show number 62 for August 13th. First, we'll start with some geocaching news because we have a little bit of that tonight. The Mary Hyde update. Now, this was the last week, right, Sydney?
That's right. Final week.
Okay.
And it's the same thing. Why did I just say the same thing?
That's okay. Yes.
Fourth and final week.
The fourth and final week of Mary Hyde. And we actually found, I know this is going to be a shock to folks that know where I've always said about where we live, there's no geocaches other than my own or ones we found. Somebody from a nearby town graciously put 2 geocaches in Greenville. I mean, alert the press because this is amazing. I know. So Susan and I, of course, found them. And now we're back to, actually, what's funny is there's one other one in town we've never found, but I've left it on. I know the guy. Just in case we ever need to find another one, like in a hurry for some souvenir or whatever. Like next week, we'll probably have to go find that one because it's another thing was happening on August 19th, which is International Geocaching Day.
That is next weekend already.
It is. It's back again. Gosh. I have found, I'm sure you have, I've got several International Geocaching Day souvenirs, I think.
I think I've...
some?
Yeah. So I started in August, was my first month, but I started later in the month, so I don't have it from that year.
Okay.
But I have it the past 2 years, I have it.
Yeah, I'm going to look real fast at ours. They reordered them alphabetical, which is fine, I guess, on the souvenirs. It's for another show, I guess, right? I've got International Earth Cache Days, 2014, 15, 16. Yeah, I've got International Geocaching Days. I guess only 2015, 2016. I guess we missed some of those. I don't know what happened there, but oh well. Anyway, next week, don't miss it. You get a chance for a souvenir. International Geocaching Day next August, or this coming August 19th. Let's see. Other news. Okay, our giveaway. For the moment, we're giving away, which I think it's going to change. We were going to give away this treasure Blu-ray. We're going to make a change because we're still going to away a really cool. In fact, we're giving a very cool gift away if you go out and do a review on iTunes. We're going to keep this one because our other quick announcement is that Shanice Jordan, I get it right. Ansley Gordon was on the show already, and Shanice Jordan will be on the show in September. She was Sierra in the movie, and so we're looking forward to having her on the show. And so when she's on the show, we're gonna give away the Blu-ray to make it sort of an appropriate giveaway for that night. And so really looking forward to that. Shanice is a very interesting, and I've mentioned a lot about Treasure, but you like her at the beginning a little bit, then you hate her, then you like her again. So, right?
Yeah. No, I won't say. I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh, okay. We won't. But kind of like Ansley's character, which is, I mean, that's if you get involved in a sense, with the movie, then to me that's a good movie. When you love a character or hate a character, if you're like, man, whatever, then maybe that movie isn't that great, or at least you didn't think it was that great, So looking forward to having Shanice on the show, and so we'll give away that. We have another gift we're going to give away, which people are going to love, and you're going to want to get out there and get a review done on iTunes. Well, keeping with the treasure theme, I do have a letter I want to read. I'm calling it kind of an open letter. It's something that Chris Williamson wrote to the geocaching community, and so to me it's sort of an open letter, and so I want to read it. It's very short, so I'm just going to do that. He says, "Thank you all for your incredible interest in Treasure. I've received this question quite a bit, so I'll address it in a post. You have all been absolutely amazing, and I'd like to tell you how you can help Treasure become a worldwide sensation. If you purchase the disc, we can't stop you from viewing this film in your home in private with friends you invite over. That's the license you are purchasing. In fact, Zach had an event at his house, and had people over to watch it. And everybody can do that. That's part of the license that when you purchase a Blu-ray, you can show it privately in your home. If other people you can have over and all that, but public viewings are a big no-no. There is a screening fee, and it's not that much. You have to check with Chris. Well, let's say it's more than you'd want to pay privately. It's not. I don't know. If you were having some kind of event and you had a budget, it's not.
Uh-oh. Gary, you just muted yourself somehow.
There, I'm back.
Boy, scared me there for a second.
Sorry, I bumped my my USB cable for my sound. So, you need to pay for, you can, but again, it's not unreasonable if you had an event and you had a budget. I think you could do that, but and that the screening fee to show a public screening. Like we showed it in Texas at the drive-in. It was shown up in Seattle, I know, to the headquarters folks. We showed it in Kansas at Moga. So people are showing it at places. So it can be done. So he writes that please encourage your friends to buy the movie and the geocoin, which is they're having a geocoin made and should be out soon. And the money goes right into helping us get a worldwide distribution deal that will help Treasure spread across the globe on cable channels, video on demand platforms such as Amazon, iTunes, etc. So I guess a quick note, the movie was done on a very small budget. Um, the movie is so much better than you could ever imagine for the budget that they had. That's a good way to put it. I've seen other movies probably on the same size budget, and they were terrible. So this one really kind of, I think, went beyond and had some great people in it, and I can't tell you enough about how wonderful this geocaching movie is. Buy a copy, buy two, give one away. But the budget that they did have was, to you and I, it's a lot of money, but
Right.
because they're expensive to make. Movies of any kind of caliber are not, are not cheap. In fact, he goes on to say, it's very expensive to get a film into distribution. Also, that's another thing. And we are selling discs now as a special pre-distribution item to raise money for the real deal. He's a teacher. His wife is a nurse. And so they need the community's help to take geocaching to the masses. There are strength in numbers. Right now, I can go to a distribution company and say, we've moved a few hundred discs this summer, or I could say we've moved 1,000. That will get their attention. I also have other filmmaking friends waiting to see if Treasure is successful, so they can make a decision on if they are going to create a family-friendly geocaching movie as well. So there's a ripple effect here that I think we don't think about or realize. Filmmaking is expensive, and it is the geocaching audience. And if the geocaching audience is a sure thing financially, then guess what? You're going to see more geocaching movies. And he says, heck, I might even make another one. I was like, oh man, that'd be awesome. Treasure 2. Ooh, that'd be awesome. But there would be a ripple effect. And that's something I think that Chris and I have talked about before, is that geocachers need to put their wallets, in the forefront, and they need to pay a little bit of money to buy this movie. I don't care if you don't have a Blu-ray, buy it and give it to somebody else. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to say this any other way in the fact that it's not that it's what, $20. I mean, go ahead.
Something like that.
I'm gonna let you talk for a minute, Sydney, on that, because I could go on forever, and I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna let you chime in, girl, because I
just love to talk.
I'm just gonna go on and on about this. The people, we need to buy this. Go ahead. I'm gonna shut up and drink some coffee.
First of all, you guys know that I love geocoins, obviously.
Yes.
So, and they had one geocoin made. I was fortunate enough to get one, but now they're making another one. So if you really love geocoins, this is where it's at. And some people I know in the past and in our chat, some people have said, well, it's only Blu-ray. I don't have a Blu-ray player. Now I think Chris does have regular DVDs for sale as well. So
yes.
if you don't have a Blu-ray player, you can buy, just a regular DVD.
Yep. And I think find a friend who has one and go watch it with them or something. But anyway, go ahead. Keep going.
I'll keep going. I don't know. Oh,
That's
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Well, you've seen it. I mean.
And so it's fun. Like, you watch it the first time, and it's a really good, geocaching story. And it's got other parts that it's not just about geocaching. So it's not like it's just about some people just going out and finding geocaches, because, I mean, that's not always that exciting. But then you watch it the first time and you get the story, and then there's a bunch of trackable codes hidden in there. So if you go back and watch it again and you can specifically be looking for them, that's really fun. I think I've only watched it once so far. I got my Blu-ray, but I just haven't had a chance to rewatch it. I've been so busy. But I only saw a couple of the trackable codes, so I have to go back and see if I can specifically look for them and pick them out, and then you can discover them. And Chris
Yes.
gets all those emails, the director. So he's been posting the pictures of people's Discover logs on Facebook and on their website. So he sees them and he's thankful.
Yes. And anyone else who contributed to the Easter eggs, you will find them. And guess what? Those people are getting emails as well. So very cool. Yeah, it's a great movie. The great story. And that's enough of that. So go buy it.
Yeah.
Come on, folks. Come on. Stop kidding around and go buy it. Dang it. As far as I can go tonight. Okay. All right, let's get into our topic for tonight. Geocaching regrets. We're going to start with one of the first things I put in our show notes. Question was, should we even have regrets? Sydney, should we have regrets about our?
I don't know if it's a question about should or shouldn't. I think it's just a thing that people feel in life. Like you can't help it. Mm-hmm. It's just how people work. Like you're always going to wish you did something in your life, whether it was geocaching or not. So I think everyone's going to have something that they wish they did.
Yeah, it's interesting because I got a few comments because I always try to tweet at least once a day, to remind people about the show. And once in a while we'll get a comment. And a couple of comments this week were like, I have no regrets geocaching. And it's like, okay, well, I'm glad you don't have any geocaching regrets. We're going to talk about ours tonight. But what you can do, and kind of we want something I mentioned, between us as we were talking about this show for tonight was about keeping it positive. We're gonna talk about regrets, and those are sort of in a sense a downer, but we're going to use that as a positive and talk about what you can kind of do about your regrets, I guess. So let's start, I guess. Sydney, go ahead and talk about some of yours, and I may butt in once in a while and ask you some questions. So I'll let you start.
So the biggest thing that comes to mind for me is before I knew about geocaching, I visited a lot of places, including I went to Paris in 2010 on a school trip, and I went to Madrid in Spain on that school trip, and I really wish I had known about geocaching at that point in my life because I'm just like killing myself. Like I could have these two countries, but I just didn't know yet, even though like all the technology and everything was out there, but I just didn't know. And I've also...
That's understandable. I understand.
Yeah. I mean, so it's not really a geocaching regret per se, but it's like I wish I had known sooner because I have gone to these places.
That's, of course, like you said, that's the toughest part. It's like you were there. It wasn't like you didn't plan. Like it wasn't like, well, we were going to go and we didn't go. It's like you were there. You could have found them and you didn't. That's okay.
And there's caches at all the touristy places. And so I was at the Eiffel Tower, and I'm sure there's caches there I could have easily found, like, on my trip. And so I'm just like, I was right there, right next to this cache. Like, what is wrong with me?
Or at least a virtual, at the very least. And
I know.
Yeah.
Like, just kicking myself.
That's okay. It's all right. Like we said, we're airing our regrets tonight as a form of therapy, so everybody in the chat room could do the same. That'd be great. So all right, so keep going.
I've also been to Washington D.C. before I knew about geocaching. I've been to Texas twice before I knew about geocaching. There's a couple other states I've visited before, but I have since gone back to those states, so I don't feel so bad about those.
Ooh, yeah, let's keep that for later. As far as avenging, we won't call them DNFs. We'll have to come up with a term for them.
Right.
Did not or regret not found or some RNFs, I guess. I don't know. We'll work on that. But go ahead, keep going.
So I was in states like South Carolina and North Carolina quite a few times in Florida a lot. But I didn't know about geocaching. But I have been there, since I started and found caches there. So I don't feel, so incredibly bad about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. Um,
And
Go
my
ahead.
last, before I knew about geocaching regret, was Geo Woodstock 9 was in Warren, Pennsylvania, which is only 140 miles from my house.
Oh, but you weren't geocaching yet.
No, I wasn't, but I wish I was.
Right. Well, that's not, yeah. I mean, yeah,
It's so
that's,
close.
yeah, who knows when it'll be that close. Well, Geocache 13 was, when wasn't
Right.
13 yeah, that was pretty close. I mean, relatively close.
Yeah, but I didn't go to that one either, so
I
we'll get
know.
to that.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but um yeah, so those are kind of I would assume those are sort of small regrets because you weren't geocaching yet. It wasn't like you just missed them like some of the ones
Right.
I'm going to
So it's
mention.
not really a regret. It's just I wish I
Yeah,
I wish I would have known kind of thing.
right. so so the next list is going to be interesting because these are all ones that you were geocaching and you could have found, but
Yep.
for varying reasons you didn't. And so
Did not.
there's yeah, and so um so last summer we were you and I and we're all we were out in Colorado, and you went a long way. Now, as a positive, you probably have no regrets that you took that
The trip in
long trip.
general, no.
Yeah.
No regrets. I had always wanted to go to Colorado. So it was great that we actually got to go. The geocaching, I guess, is an added bonus, but that's the one of the biggest things I like about geocaching is, you get to travel and go to all these cool places and I guess pick up your little state souvenirs and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
it gives me an excuse, I guess, to travel more.
Well, yeah, and I think the other thing that is the opposite, whatever we're going to figure out what the opposite, the thing that you're probably thankful for is the fact that you did some good planning.
Right.
Um,
I think I plan too much sometimes.
Overplanned. Well,
Yeah,
but that gave you some flexibility because I know you ran up and did a couple state. Like, didn't you run up and grab Michigan on
we
that trip?
did. Yep. So that was good. But I just, it's like I wish we had more time. That's
Hmm.
always that's always the thing too.
But it's so far from where you were. It's a
Yeah, it was very
long
far.
trip.
Like I have one cache find in Michigan, one cache find in Illinois because we just stopped
Hmm.
at somewhere. I'm like, I just have to get one. I have to get one while we're here. So
Of course. I don't even have it. I don't have an Illinois cache. So that's, I guess, one of my regrets right now is, but I got them in, we got weird states. Like we went to Washington, found Washington because Susan and I were up that way. We'll get into mine in a minute. So, all right. So you didn't get to go out to Terryall.
no, it's a funny story too. So that was the day that we went to Pikes Peak. There was an event there. So we did that. And that's actually another kind of regret of mine too that I forgot to put in was so we went to Pikes Peak and we got almost all the way to the top and my boyfriend was not really enjoying the height and
Okay.
the steepness of driving right along the edge of this mountain. So we didn't actually go all the way to the peak of Pikes Peak. So well, I understand that he was kind of freaking out. That's fine. I wasn't gonna make him go up there, but I still wish, I had gone all the way to the top because when's the next time I'm gonna be in Colorado to go to
Right.
the peak of Pikes Peak? But
Well, and part of that though, which people don't realize, it was July 2nd or 3rd or whatever date it was, and it was iced over
right,
up at.
the road all the way to the top, like the last quarter of the route or whatever was closed for the beginning of the day, and so we weren't
Mhm.
even gonna go because the thing was closed, and then the road reopened, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to go, blah blah blah, and so I didn't know he was gonna freak out because I didn't know he was afraid of heights or anything. So I was like, this is gonna be great. And
There's no guardrail, right?
not a lot. No, it
Mm-hmm.
was pretty much like you're just driving, and then there's like the mountain that just goes right down right next to you. So
Yeah.
it's kind
Didn't
of
they also
scary.
didn't they have the event? I think they had it a little like off the top of the mountain because of the fact that there was some ice, or did they have it
Right.
at the yeah.
So I think they changed it a few times. So
Hmm.
originally it was supposed to be all the way up at the top, and then the road was closed, so they moved it down the mountain a little bit, and then I think it moved back up, and
Okay.
it kind of jumped around a bit there. But it was actually really cold. There was snow still, so I understand that
Hmm.
the road was closed. That was an
But
interesting experience.
but what's funny, and this is gets into the regrets. Got to hear the stories. Y'all had a great time going to Pikes Peak. I heard from Joshua, geocaching vlogger, about this wonderful time they had on Pikes Peak, and you guys, and got to do quite a bit, and then all that. So Susan and I we had to make a calculated decision that day. It's like, do we drive up there? It sounds like it's closed. We only, like you talking about, you have a limited amount of time. So what do we do? And so we kind of, because we had an event, we need to get to Doc Firewood's birthday thing in Colorado Springs. So we had to kind of try to plan this time that we had. And so Susan and I decided, let's run up and grab Wyoming. So we went the opposite direction from you guys. We went north, and we went all the way to Wyoming and got a webcam. Had a great time. But do we regret that we didn't go to Pikes Peak? A little bit, because we've been to Colorado. Susan and I've been to Colorado before, but we've never been in the top of Pikes Peak. So that's on our list. Now, we're closer to Pikes Peak than you are, so we could make a
Right.
trip. We could get back to Colorado, in a relative to you, it's several hours, but you know, but I'm we made the best, I guess, of that day. We had a lot of fun. Went out this crazy webcam at the airport in Wyoming and trying to figure out where you stand, and we had a great time. But anyway, um, so that day you were going to go to Pikes Peak, and then you were going to go out to Tarryall, right? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
So here's the funny part of the story. We got down the mountain, and we got pretty much halfway from Pikes Peak to where Tarryall was. I think it was about a 45-minute drive or something.
Yeah.
And we got about halfway there, and my boyfriend is like, "Where's my phone? And where's my cell phone?" And I was like, "Are you kidding?" So we stop. We get out of the car. We're looking all over the car. He's calling it. We don't hear it, and we're like, "Oh my God, you dropped it on Pikes Peak somewhere." And so we had to
Oh
turn
yeah.
around and go back to Pikes Peak and try and find it. And so we missed Tarryall, but we did find the cell phone.
See, so you don't regret finding the cell phone, but oh, it's so frustrating. I know.
Yeah, it can be. Plus, that the month that Tarryall was hidden, I still need that. And now the closest one is in Michigan, and it's in the middle of a lake, so you have to take a boat to it.
Yeah, yeah. So you gotta plan differently
Yep.
now for. Yeah, see, we did go out to Tarryall, and we did miss the birthday. They had a birthday celebration out there. I
Right.
think it was the day before or something. Just the timing didn't work out for us either for that. But we did go out. We did grab that. I think it's my highest cash in other than I think Hawaii. I'm trying to remember, but anyway, I have to look at my geocaching stats. But okay, so let's move on to some other. We're still on you, Sydney. So
Yep.
Stevens Lake.
Yeah, so this cache was pretty much right off the highway on our way back. It was hidden in February 2001, which I also still need, and there's not one anywhere seemingly close to me. But it was dark when we were driving by. It was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, so we had to skip it.
GC2BE Bravo Echo, in case you want to look that cache up. But okay. Then the Queen's Staircase, GC5 um, Q. I should know this one. Somebody will help me. Charlie 27.
I have no idea what Q would be, but I was
I should know. I'll think of it in a second. Go ahead.
So this is an Earth cache in the Bahamas. And I went there on a cruise in 2015. I was also there a few years before that, but I didn't know about geocaching yet. But so we're there on this cruise, and you're only there for 7 hours or whatever it is, and then you have to get back on your cruise ship. So we didn't have time to do this one, and I wish I had time to do it. Because we went and did this whole beach day thing, which I really wish we could have just walked around like the city. Like, I don't want to do any of these silly cruise activities or whatever it is. I just want to go geocaching.
Right.
But yeah, so I just have one cache in the Bahamas.
Hey, you got a cache in the Bahamas. Come on.
This one.
That's great. It's Quebec, by the way, in case you're wondering on the
yes.
codes.
I
Quebec.
should have known that.
Yeah. But this is part of what we're talking about tonight. The positive is the fact that you did think if you hadn't found any. I mean, your regret would have been a little larger at that point, but
right.
You got a cache in the Bahamas. That's awesome.
Yep. But there's no souvenir for the Bahamas yet, so I'm still waiting for that.
And Jesse, who's not with us tonight, he's enjoying his I think it's an anniversary trip, wasn't it? He was going on to Vegas. He did jump into the show notes. This is funny, Gail. He jumped in the show notes and put a comment. This is Jesse's favorite cache of all time. That's all.
That's an Earth cache.
Oh, now that's something we're gonna bust him on that. His favorite cache of all time is an Earth cache.
That is crazy.
This is going in the permanent show note. I'm going to copy and paste this on every show note from now on for every week. No, I'm kidding. But
just remember,
because I noticed there was an update on our show notes, and I was like, oh, Jesse put something. I thought, well, maybe he's going to be, maybe he's because we weren't sure. He kind of talked about he might make it, he might not. More likely, he wasn't going to make it. So I went and looked, and his only comment was the fact that it's his favorite of all time. So must be pretty cool. The Queen Staircase.
Yep. It's, I think, like one of the only Earth caches in the Bahamas. So.
Wow. Very cool. Okay. Urban Hunt. This is the weird number, GC1445.
Right. Pretty this is also a Jasmer one that I still need. We drove right by on our way to West Virginia this past March, and we just couldn't find it because there's so much snow.
Oh.
So we DNF'd that one.
Wow. Yep. The dreaded snow. Well, so you didn't bring us shovels and pickaxes and...
Nope. I guess we should have. But
dig it out of the snow.
Yeah, this was like a crazy storm that happened like the day before we were supposed to go. So I was like, it's March, it's done snowing, right? No, of course not.
Not yet. Well, now, and this is the cool part, and I guess this is a good time to mention this, is the fact that this one, though, is, what's it, easily avengeable, but it's more easily avengeable than some of the other ones that you've mentioned. So you could plan, and you could plan and go back to this one because it's. I mean, I know it's a ways, but still, it's not like Colorado,
right?
So this gets into one of the things I wanted to bring up is the fact that we have regrets, and I'm going to mention a couple of mine in a minute. But what do we do about them? Because you said that it's inevitable. You're going to have some geocaching regrets, but what you can do about them is do some planning and think about how you can sort of avenge your RNF regret that you didn't find RNFs, regret not found.
We'll have to workshop that one.
We'll work on that for the moment. For tonight, it's an RNF, regrettable not found.
Still in progress.
That's right. But the regret can go away if you do some planning. If that is something you really want to do, is to fix, to remove your regret. How to put it. So that's one, and then if it's a long way away, a cache long way away, still you might be back in Colorado, Sydney, at some point.
Maybe. I would love to go back, but there's so many other things on my list of places that I want to go that I would put those ahead of going back to Colorado at this point.
Right. Sometime in your life, hopefully those caches will still be there.
Right.
And that gets into another thing. There are some WVTIM caches that I always wanted to find, but that's the thing about geocaches, and we need to remember this, everyone. Geocaches are not permanent, although many of them have been around for a long time, but many of them get archived. So plan. The time is now, folks. Go get them. In fact, I mentioned that in the book about these 201 geocaches that were in the book. I think one of them's already archived. So, when I update it, of course, that one I'm going to have to yank that one out of there. But some of these are they're not all going to last. I mean, we know, like his chicken, his one out in front of the Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
Eat More Chicken. It's gone. He removed it because it was time. The Key is the Key. If you've ever seen the video for The Key is the Key, always want to find that one. It's gone. Never to be found. Never to be found again. Oh well. So you also mentioned about some webcam and virtuals that you kind of wish you'd gotten.
Yeah, so there was quite a few of those that were, along our route, and I like to try and find those caches when I have the chance because there's not many of them left, and they're, like you said, slowly disappearing. But we just really didn't have the time to keep stopping every 50 miles or so. We were trying to get there at some point, so
right.
I always end up planning for more time than we actually have.
Oh, well, that's good, though. I mean, in a sense, you know what I mean? It's better than under planning and going, gee, we should have, I think it's better to under plan. That's just my opinion. But, and then you have a goal.
Right. So one of my goals, it's like a really big stretch goal, not just to find any cache in all 50 states, that I want to find an Earth cache in all 50 states.
That's cool.
And so this was just kind of a recent goal that I thought of. So there's quite a few states that I have found caches in, but I haven't done an Earth cache. So I think it's like 16 states I've found. So there's 16 states that I have visited and found a geocache in, but I didn't find an Earth cache in. So and some of those are the ones that I just found one cache, like driving through.
Right. So Geocaching Adam came up with CERM or KERM. I don't know. Adam, you have to tell me how you want me to pronounce this. Caches I regrettably missed. CERM.
Sounds good.
Not bad. I like that. And then you missed Woodstock 13.
In Maryland. Yep. I really wanted to go too, but we had some other thing going on that weekend. So it's always Memorial Day weekend, and we always seem to have some get together to go to. So that's why Woodstock is, hard for me to get to personally, just because we always have so much going on at that time.
Yeah, Memorial Day
so close.
Or July 4th, one of the two is what they always pick. So yes, I mean that's on my list. I kind of wish we'd have gone out there because of the fact that you're so close to West Virginia Tim's caches, and that's the thing. I think that people that live near him and don't find his caches, I'm thinking, you live right there. Go find them. It reminds me of when Susan and I have been to Hawaii a few times, and we'll talk to some of the local folks, and they'll be like, "How's it going?" And like, "Oh, good. We're going up to the top of the volcano summit, like Haleakala." They're like, "Oh, well, I've never been up there." I'm thinking, and Susan's. We don't say this to them, but we say it to each other afterward. We go, "How can you live here? You're on an island. I mean, there's a really limited amount of things to do on an island.
Right.
I mean, go to the beach and enjoy. There's plenty of gorgeous parts of Hawaii, but you've never been to the top, the volcano summit. You live here. You never been to the top. I mean, I don't know. It boggles our minds, the fact that people haven't done that. It's kind of like if you lived in Seattle and you've never been to the headquarters or any of the geocaching HQ to, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So let me mention a couple of mine, and then we're going to kind of talk about regrets a little bit in general. So I put in the notes that I have few regrets, and I think you do too, right, Sydney, overall?
Yeah. I mean, there's some of those that are like, yeah, I wish I had found it, but I'm not like beating myself up over it. Like
Right.
Terrial's, like I'm kind of beating myself up. I can't talk today.
It's okay. Yeah.
I am beating myself up over it. But some of them, like just the ones we DNF'd or whatever, I'm not like losing sleep over it or anything. So.
Right. Yeah. So one of them that always comes to my mind, and like you said, as far as regrets, caches I wish I had found that we would have done. And the one that initially comes to mind, very first one on my list, is the one in Scotland. Now, we had only been geocaching for a fairly short period of time, but I brought my GPS. I had a cache picked out. We were on the Isle of Mull, and there was a point in the. We were part of a. We were with a tour group, so we were kind of limited in that. The tour is going to do. We got to follow what the bus is going where the bus goes, and we're not going to miss the bus, so we got to keep with our tour group. But we had it planned. We had a cache picked out, but our time to get to the cache and get back was short, fairly short based on, because we're going to walk to it. And I was at least 100 pounds heavier at that point. And so, you're talking about going, it's not flat, and try to get there and try to get back. We didn't do it. But I wish I would have just sucked it up and gone out there and we'd have gone out there and grabbed it, because like I said, we had one printed, we had our GPSR with us, we were ready to. This is back in those days before.
Yeah, what year was this?
Before smartphones were around.
Yeah, so did you have to like print out the whole page and everything? And for your description?
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
2008. I guess it was 2008. Susan will correct me in the chat room if I'm wrong. I think it's 2008.
Yeah, but like here, so when I went to Paris and Spain, I didn't have a smartphone, and so I would have had to bring a GPS, which I didn't even really know about. So, but I'm like, I just wish I had known.
Right. Susan's telling me it's 2007, so it was, and we'd only been caching for about a year, but still, I could have had Scotland, which I don't know if they have their own. I don't know if you find a Scottish cache, maybe you get a Great Britain souvenir.
No, Scotland's not in Great Britain.
Well, it kind of is.
Not in the UK. There's a UK souvenir.
You probably get the UK souvenir.
Oh, really?
I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to look that up. Yeah, we could ask Sarah, who got married yesterday, by the way. Shout out to Sarah.
Right. Congrats.
So good for her. Our Geocache Talk's very own Sarah. So she put some photos on Facebook of the nuptials. So
you're right, Gary. Scotland is in the UK.
It is. Oh yeah, it is. But
I don't know.
That's okay. But there's a weird part, because Sarah's mentioned this before. I said, So you have the Irish souvenir. She's like, there's not a separate. Well, there's an Irish souvenir. There's not a separate Northern Ireland souvenir, part of the UK. So they kind of went ahead, and if you find a cache in Northern Ireland, you would get the Irish souvenir, which makes sense. I mean, they kind of skip some of the political boundaries a little bit. So which makes sense. Northern Ireland, yes, politically is part of the UK, but geographically is part of Ireland, and so you get an Irish souvenir for that. That's just a side note. But anyway.
So much confusion over there.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's a great video. I think I mentioned it before on YouTube. You got to go watch. Some people go watch it, but it talks about how near the Netherlands and in Belgium, you can shift between Netherlands and Belgium like within streets. You can go from one to the other. In fact, there's a person who has their property. Part of their property is in the Netherlands and part of it's in Belgium, and so they had to move their door because it was going by their door anyway. But yeah, anyway.
Anyway.
So, and Susan mentioned in the chat room, which is another one that people are gonna be like, really? I'm not listening to this show anymore because you had a chance to get stuff in Seattle and you just didn't. No, we didn't, and we regret it greatly. Yep. But we did find a cache on Mount Rainier. We found an earth cache. We were with our kids, and at that time they weren't doing a lot of geocaching. They're still kind of, only one of them's doing a lot of geocaching or some geocaching. So we kind of just didn't do it, mostly because the group were, the whole family, we were doing other stuff. And so we didn't really, but I should have just gone ahead and pushed them to say, you know what, we're finding a cache in Seattle. You're just going to have to suck it up. But I didn't. Anyway, so I kind of regret that. And I do want to mention about we found some in Hawaii, and just grateful for the chance to go to Hawaii so I'm not saying anything about that. We were very grateful that we got to go. We found 5 actually in Hawaii. So wish we'd have found more. And ironically, we should have found the Haleakala volcano summit that I ranted about earlier. That? I know. Well, see, what's funny is we went to the top and we got busy with just being at the top of the summit. We're like, oh, there's an earth cache there. Did we get the info? Oh no, we forgot to get the info. I was like, oh no. So here I am. I'm bashing the locals for not going to the top, and then of course, what do? We forget to get the info. So, but I didn't.
So here's a question: is this the one with like the big telescopes on it, or is that a different one?
That's different. Yeah.
Okay.
That one we also went to and also failed to get a geocache at.
Right, because I know there's a webcam up there, isn't there? Yes.
There is a webcam up there. It's in the book. I mean, that's terrible. I know. I'm being honest. But yeah, that's the earth cache is in the 201 geocaches to find because it gets a lot of favorite points, and it's gorgeous up there. I mean, it's amazing. We didn't go up like a lot of people go up there. One of the big things for the volcano summit is people go up there and watch the sunrise. So it's very busy early in the morning as people get up there and want to watch the sunrise. We didn't do that part. We went a little bit later up there, but it's gorgeous up there. I mean, you're way up. You're at the top of this volcano on Maui. And so anyway, my Hawaii caches, that's a big regret, but we did find some. And so
that's good.
Yeah, so that's good. We
and you went to Hawaii, so
yes, and we found geocaches in Hawaii, so there's no regrets there. We're glad we did those. But and as far as events, I wish we had not missed Geo Woodstock. I mentioned before 13 because of the more. Obviously, all of them are great. There's so many great events, but the fact that I would have been close to WVTM caches was really the big plus for me. And then my other one was Texas Challenges. We went to last year's. We could have gone to a lot more of them. I didn't really know enough about them, and this kind of gets into things that you can do to avoid geocaching regrets is get your knowledge, get your information about whatever it is you have that you may have regrets about if you don't. And that is something that I didn't know. I thought you had to go, and I was not really interested in the challenge part, but
You don't have to be.
you don't have to
right?
be. No, you don't. So Texas Challenge, MOGA, and that's something that I'm glad that we did this past year at MOGA. Dan and a couple of bucks, his dad, and Susan and I, we didn't want to do the challenges. All the youngsters, let them run around and do that, which they did, But the four of us went out and did, I don't remember what it was, 10, 12, I have to look it up. We did a lot of cache types in one day, including a waymark and a benchmark, just for the heck of it, to add to our own personal list of cache types. But we had such a great time. So I'm glad that we planned ahead and did that. And I would have regretted that, because there was a really great opportunity at MOGA to do that, like you did. You had the opportunity to do that at Woodstock 14er.
Right. And it almost didn't work out, but it did, thankfully.
Right. But see, you would have regretted not doing that if you hadn't planned. And that's
I probably would have, because there's not really an opportunity for me to do that outside of going somewhere and attending a mega, because you have to, I mean, I would have to have a CETO and a regular event on the same day, and there's no where I goes around here, and it's hard to get a virtual now, and so. Right.
Yeah, that's a weird. There's weird points of time when you can really get all those at one time. It's not an easy thing to really get. Is the number we're talking about? I'm going to look it up real quick, but
I think I got 10 or 11, 10 maybe. I think it was 10.
Was it 10?
I'm bad at this. I should know.
That's okay.
But I'll it's like, so even if you do have a mega event close to home that you're going to, you might have already found, the nearby webcams or the nearby virtuals. And so you have to kind of plan it around. You're going somewhere that's not close to home.
Right.
To do that.
No, exactly. I'm looking right now at mine. I'll look at yours. Profiles. I think it's under profile stats. Project GC. You got to have Project GC invaluable. So I don't get any money for it, but go sign up, right? Project GC?
Right. Yeah, it's totally worth it.
It is awesome.
Here's on another note, here's the funny thing is I did those 10 cache types by myself. Like Glenn, my boyfriend, didn't go with me for a couple of them because he was like, I don't really care. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go, so I'll be back. So I woke up really early and went to that event, and then grabbed a virtual and a webcam by myself. So
right. Oh yeah, you have a semi-muggle boyfriend. He'll do some geocaching, but
right. He likes geocaching. He doesn't care to log geocaches. Like, he just likes to go out and walk around and play in creeks with the dog and do all that fun stuff. Yeah. But
I know you like prod him. Put your caches in, dang it.
Yeah, I had to remind him these past couple of weeks to log his stuff, or else he wasn't going to get his souvenirs.
Right. That's right. Technically ours was 9 that day. Traditional, webcam, mega, virtual, where I go, multicache, earth cache, letterbox, and an unknown, mystery. So 9, although just for our own personal, it doesn't show up on Project GC, but we did find a benchmark and a waymark, but those don't really, they count in my head, but they don't count on Project GC. But
yep.
And that's kind of gets into, as I look at, that's something that sort of like I said, it's sort of the opposite of regret, is the just being grateful. Looking through my list on Project GC of the furthest eastern cache we found is in Massachusetts, and we had a great time. We went to Salem. That's our furthest furthest east for us. Furthest west,
It's
again,
further east
Hawaii.
than mine, I think,
Is
Gary.
it?
I think
Oh,
so.
cool. Yeah. And furthest west and south are Hawaii. And furthest north is, again, that Earth cache up in Washington. So, I mean, I think we all have, if we've been around geocaching a while, I think we all we have several things that we're grateful for, as far as those kind of things go. So I guess that's my advice as we sort of start to wrap the show up, is just do some planning, and and don't, if you're going to be somewhere, even for a little bit, try to grab a cache, because it's, if you can. And then if you have a regret, plan to avenge that, I think. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. So for me, I'd love to go back to Paris and Madrid, but I mean, there's other places I'd rather go first that I haven't been to yet. So that's kind of how I'm working right now. Like, there's places like I've never been to Yellowstone, so I wanna go there before I go back to some places I've already visited, even though I haven't found caches there. You know what I mean?
Sure. No, that's good.
And I haven't been to Seattle yet, so that's still on my list. Like, the list of places I want to go to is really long.
Right.
And the places, I want to go to that I've already been to is, a little bit smaller. So
true. Yes, very true. And so, yeah. Well, good. So we're gonna wrap up. Let me see. Like watching the chat room. It was busy tonight. They're talking about all sorts of cool stuff. All right. I guess that was our final thoughts. Make your plans and try to limit your regrets, I guess, is a good way to put it. So, so coming up on the show, next week, show 63, we're going to talk Muncie. I know people are going to like, well, I'm out. But hear me out. Hear us out. And hear the owner or the CEO, the Grand Poobah, Rob. We're calling the show Three-Dimensional Rob, because if you know a little bit about Muncie, he's Flat Rob, or at least he has an icon for Flat Rob out there that you can find some of the time. That's what I love kind of fun about Muncie, is they got little games within the game. We'll talk about it next week. But Three-Dimensional Rob will be on the show next week. And the week after that is Jolene and Yeno Vandersteen. They're in Belgium. And I mentioned them last week as far as I got to talk to them for a little bit as for sort of a test before they're on the show. They have a coffee shop called GOT, and they're a hoot. They're a fun couple. They have a YouTube channel. You can go watch their videos, and they're all in Dutch. So, but they speak really good English, so you'll be fine. The show's gonna be great. But they're if you don't speak Dutch, that's fine. Go watch a couple of their videos. They're kind of fun because you can follow along, because it's video, so you can see what they're doing or talking about. You just can't tell what they're talking about. At least I can't. Anyway, so their shop is getting closer to being opened, and they'll talk about that and their travels and stuff. They seem like a really fun couple, and talk about their geocaching. It'd be very interesting. So, and we have a fairly big announcement, but we're going to keep the full details until next week. So I'm going to leave you hanging on that one. So anyway, folks, that's going to do it for tonight. Email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. And we really appreciate the emails. We're getting more of them, but just drop us a note and tell us about different, whatever you want to tell us about. We really we appreciate your email. We enjoy reading it, and we just appreciate y'all are out there listening to the show and enjoying it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter The show is at Geocache Talk. My personal one is at Gary Slinkard. Jesse is at Memphis_Mafia. And Sydney is at ShermanatorGC. And Facebook at facebook.com/Geocache Talk. Show can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, iTunes Radio, and Google Play, as well as the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button below so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. Until next week, don't just talk about geocaching. Have no regrets and go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.